Our big focus this Saturday afternoon, the bilateral between Prime Minister Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin is underway on the sidelines of the BRICS Summit in Goa. Both leaders are likely to underline their stand in counter-terrorism, and India is expected to finalize a deal with Russia for a number of additions to its defence arsenal. The list includes the purchase of 5 S-400 Triumph air defence missile systems for 39,000 crores, 48 Mi-17V and 5 helicopters for the Indian Air Force's transport fleet. Scaling up cooperation in the atomic energy sector, India and Russia have finalized a general framework for setting up 2 units, that's number 5 and 6 at the Kudankulam nuclear plant. Apart from the deals, India is likely to raise its concerns over the Russia-Pakistan joint military exercises near the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Let's get now from our team of reporters tracking this big story for us. We have our executive editor Gaurav Sawant, who's with us live from Goa. Also with us India Today's Maha Siddiqui, who tracks the defence, who tracks the External Affairs Ministry for us. Gaurav, I want to come to you first. India and Russia having to walk a tightrope, really. On one hand, several defence deals being inked, and on the other, there's that Russia-Pakistan military exercise which India will have to take up.
You know, India is now trying to rejuvenate the relationship with Russia. There was a drift in the past several years. The attempt is to arrest that drift. The relationship is very strong. It's on an even keel. The effort is now to strengthen it. Russia carrying out one very small military exercise with Pakistan. Well, it's a signal. You don't want that exercise to, become bigger and more intense in the years to come. So thus far and no further. India-Russia ties go back several decades, and India is now going to take it to the next level. Russia is equally keen. So when we talk about, the S-400 Triumph missile shield, that's something that's only been sold to China. So far, it will really strengthen India. It's a very expensive deal, but then that's one step forward. It's the Su-30 MKI upgradation. It's the Mi-17 helicopters. What is extremely significant, and our viewers are hearing it first here on India Today, is a massive agreement on cyber security. India hasn't had that kind of an arrangement on cyber security with any other nation, and that is something which India really hopes to take forward. So we expect forward movement on that. India-Russia ties onto a different trajectory is India's aim at this point of time. What sources are telling India today? Russia is responding in kind.
Right, and Maha, we're also being told that apart from defence deals, there's the atomic energy sector that's also likely to be discussed between Putin and Modi. We're being told that a general framework has been finalized for setting up 2 more units in Kudankulam. This is something what's the BJP's stand been on the Kudankulam nuclear plant, considering that there's been a lot of ground protest?
Yes, there have been a lot of protests in the past, and that has been a niggling factor. You remember a couple of years ago, this had taken a big form where we had seen protests against the Kudankulam, and because of which Russia had expressed its desire to look at the situation and then move on and move ahead. But now it is on the right track, because if you heard the spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, Vikas Swarup, pointing out that the foundation concrete for Kudankulam 3 and 4 will also be laid today, and 5 and 6 talks on that, and agreement on that is on the anvil as well. So clearly it is absolutely going or as was targeted. Now clearly nuclear energy is one aspect that is very crucial between India and Russia, and India is hoping that by moving on all these deals, defense, nuclear energy, India will be able to once again indicate to Russia that they have been friends during the Cold War period, and that India's proximity to the United States does not mean that India has forgotten its friend and its friend in Moscow, and therefore Moscow must also look at India or New Delhi favorably. And what we have also learned from our sources, Simi, is that the officials have been at an informal level been assured by Russia that the joint military exercise with Pakistan was a one-off affair. But we'll have to wait and see whether Vladimir Putin gives any concrete assurance on that after his talks with Prime Minister Modi today.
All right, Maha and Gaurav, stay on with us now. Ahead of the BRICS and BIMSTEC Summit, 7-tier security is in place in Goa. BSF personnel have been deployed with latest assault rifles, light machine guns and night vision devices. Amidst tight security, all recreational activities have been banned in these areas, which include parasailing and paragliding on beaches. As India welcomes heads of state of over 10 countries, Prime Minister Modi took to Twitter to welcome Russian President Vladimir Putin, South African President and leaders of other countries as well. All eyes are on crucial bilaterals between Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin. In fact, that particular bilateral is currently underway.
Apart from the small arms that are deployed just close to the periphery of the hotel, a little distance away, you have an entire battery of anti-aircraft guns. You saw one there. There's another gun that's been deployed here. You have its radars that are deployed around. And all of this to ensure that this summit passes off without any untoward incident. At the same time, all along here, on usual days, you'd see a lot of parasailing, paragliding activity, adventure sports activity happening. But at this point of time, while the summit is on, all those activities are completely banned. The army has been deployed here to ensure that the situation remains calm. With cameraman Kirpal Singh at Goa, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. Along the coast, you have vehicles like these, emergency vehicles like these that are constantly patrolling the seas. You have the Coast Guard out at sea, but young personnel like Jayesh here with me, they're constantly going up and down the coast, even in the civilian area where you have tourists, to ensure there is no untoward incident or no suspicious movement. And this is happening almost round the clock. Apart from this, you also have a battery of anti-aircraft guns that's been deployed, and that's a unique sight. So Goa is very famous for its shacks along the beach where you can party till late at night. But while you are partying, in midst of this, you'll suddenly see a camouflage net like the one there, and in that camouflage net, there is an anti-aircraft battery that's been deployed.
All right, lots of deployment of security in Goa. Lots of recreational activities have been banned for now. We have Gaurav Sawant, who's with us live from Goa, along with Maha Siddiqui. Gaurav, special arrangements being made considering that 10 heads of state are expected to be in Goa by tonight.
It's Fortress Goa at this point of time, even as we speak, a 7-tier security cordon in place. And to help the Goa police, you have the Maharashtra Police Anti-Terror Squad, you have the Karnataka Police Anti-Sabotage Squad, Bomb Squad, Dog Squad, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the intelligence agencies, cyber security, you name it, and they're all deployed all across Goa in uniform and in plain clothes. Why? As you rightly pointed out, there's BRICS, there's BIMSTEC, China's here, engagement at diplomatic level, and you have a very hostile Pakistan. So a state sponsor of terror that will try every trick in the trade to try and disrupt this. Intelligence agencies warned of sleeper cells being activated in Maharashtra and asking them to move to Goa. From what sources tell India Today, there were some suspicious people who were taken into custody. Coastal security post 26/11 extremely strong. Even where we are standing right now, you have, apart from the Goa police, you have the Coast Guard and the Navy patrolling this area constantly. At this point of time, Simi.
Right, Gaurav, stay on with us now. India is all set to corner China today on its continuous betrayals at a bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping, which is scheduled for later this evening. Issues of security are likely to be taken up. Sources have told India Today that the issue of technical hold on Masood Azhar being enlisted as a UN designated terrorist will come up in the meeting. India will press upon the need for JEM chief to be on the list, will present to China some of his incendiary comments in the aftermath of the Uri terror attack. The Dragon will also be cornered on its continuous blocking of India's NSG bid. China has made an attempt to club India and Pakistan in the same nuclear-armed countries bracket. MEA believes it's unjustified as UN has an impeccable record, as India has an impeccable record, whereas Pakistan's nuclear proliferation record is known to the world.
From a veto at the United Nations against Masood Azhar, water wars at Brahmaputra, blocking India's nuclear suppliers group bid, to an economic corridor in POK. China has dared India, and now China is arm twisting India at the BRICS Summit too. Reflecting undercurrent of tensions between India and China, at 10:15 a.m. there was a session scheduled as country seminar which was called off by China at BRICS trade fair at the very last moment. Sources have told India today that it was cancelled because of India's hard stand in opposing the free trade area that China is demanding. So what China wants is a duty-free regime for BRICS nation. India not willing to cede the ground. So China adopting this arm twisting tactic to cancel the session. More importantly, ahead of BRICS Summit, it's setting a very tough tone. But India has decided to call China's bluff and not yield under Chinese pressure tactics. It's taking firm to send a message that it's in Beijing's interest to ensure that it maintains cordial ties with New Delhi if it needs market access in India.
India has a lot to gain from this partnership. I don't think there is a confrontation which is taking place. I think it's a collaborative effort which is taking place.
You know, these are not zero-sum games, and I think we have to work together to resolve infrastructure.
India continues to wield its trade card to make China fall in line and build a consensus with Brazil, Russia and South Africa on trade policies and its bigger diplomatic agenda to isolate Pakistan in the region.
We have very tight relations with India, especially in the military cooperation. So we are looking forward for the civil industrial cooperation like helicopter Ka-226.
Even as China is posturing hard, India knows that China is not in a condition to set terms because it's facing economic slowdown. But the bigger question is, if in the BRICS Summit where world leaders are meeting, the Prime Minister will be willing to play the trade card to get the Chinese to fall in line. With Ravi Khan, this is Divina Gupta for India Today.
We have Maha Siddiqui, who's with us live from Goa this afternoon. Maha, even before the summit could start, China sending a tough message to India by cancelling that important trade breakfast meet.
Yes, absolutely, because China is looking for a free trade zone in the BRICS countries, and India is not very keen on that, considering that the trade deficit between the two sides is already above $50 billion and is already hugely in favor of China. So it doesn't work for India to have a free trade zone among the BRICS countries, and that is something that India doesn't want. But from what we understand is that this is an issue that China is likely perhaps to raise even during the BRICS Summit, and accusing India of protectionism. But India has many other aspects to that, as you were highlighting, to counter China's proximity to Pakistan, which India has already, without mincing words, said is a state sponsor of terror and therefore should be isolated. So clearly a balancing act will have to be done here, both at the bilateral meeting between Xi Jinping and Narendra Modi, as well as during the BRICS Summit, where India will make an effort to isolate Pakistan.
All right, Maha and Gaurav, thanks so much for bringing us details from Goa. We're going to keep coming back to the two of you for more developments. A quick